Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us for the Learning Projects 201 webinar. We have a fantastic lineup with us today and our fantastic product team ready to join us to talk about accelerating your projects with templates.
Pedro's going to help kind of paint a little bit of a picture of just some points and context of all the different industry use cases that we can have with projects. So Pedro?
Yeah, so before, like John said, before jumping into the demo, we just wanted to share some background on projects, why we have them, why we continue to work with customers to make them better. And basically, so last year when we introduced projects, it was mainly introduced as a collaboration space. Projects or engagements, as some of you may have seen it, brought together some powerful tools to help users collect documents and manage client onboarding tasks more efficiently. Since then, we've seen, thousands of ShareFile users from different industries create new projects every month. And it's been really amazing to hear how customers, to hear from customers how projects have helped bring on new clients and improve teamwork within ShareFile. Whether it's sharing important documents, tracking progress, or managing tasks, projects really give you a centralized space for teams to build a strong reputation and relationship with clients. But as we worked with many of you, we learned that onboarding different types of clients often requires specific adjustments to the project space. So customizations really became a common theme when we talked to different customers. And while these customizations were, incredibly useful, recreating them from scratch each time was very time consuming. So as we'll see in the demo today, this is where project templates can really help. And when when you need to customize, for example, a list of document requests or a checklist to onboard a specific type of client, saving projects as template allow you to save all that customization so you can reuse them when you need them for the next time you work with a new client. So this can actually really make a custom project setup, ready to go, and ensures that every client gets a sort of like a tailored and more efficient onboarding experience without any extra work from your team. And as we work through this, we also recognize the need for even more customizations in this space. So we've added features like, John mentioned, of information requests and data tables, and this added a whole new level of customizations to projects. And you'll see in the demo today some of the examples of how these tools can actually expand the use cases of projects. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to John to show the updated project space and how templates can automate a lot of the custom setups you need for different types of clients. John, back to you.
Thank you, Pedro. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Is we utilize the onboarding process as a great way to showcase this. This obviously can be used for many different ways in terms of obtaining data and just have that better collaboration platform that you've kind of been needing through ShareFile. So with that, let's jump into the demo. And if you were kind of here last time with us on the 101, we showcased a bit of just a scenario where we took a particular company and they had an issue, or not necessarily an issue, but more so, hey, a gap. We needed to help realize a way to onboard, get data into ShareFile, start collaborating right away. So we're going to do that here today. Today, we set up a fictitious, of course, company, ShareFile Tax Services, that we need to onboard clients to, of course, assess, of course, their tax needs. Could be for a tax return. It could also be, say, it's a company. They need help. It's a small business, and they need help with tax, of course, information and processing and so forth. There's a lot of information when we're talking about tax information, especially, right? I mean, there could be a long history of issues with a client. They could have very particular expenses, or the way they do taxes wasn't properly done previously. So the onboarding process is incredibly critical when we're setting up an actual user, or I'm sorry, I should say a client with one of our accountants. So if you're an accountant in the audience today, I'm sure that that stress level hits a really high peak during that time. You have a lot of relief afterwards because you've been trying to going through all the different means of trying to collect it in all these different fashions, but maybe there's something missing, and later on we find that out, and that could cause issues, obviously, not just with tax returns, but again, just the kind of history of working with the client themselves. We need to be sure to plug those holes. We need to be sure that we are essentially getting what we need when this new client comes on board. So we thought it was a great way, again, to showcase this as a means to get this client onboarded quickly. So let's kind of start out here. Again, I want to go through and just have a refresher on what projects can do, more particularly on certain different ways of collecting information where we can templarize these things and redo these things on a need to know or need to do basis, where we're frequently bringing in clients to onboard. And again, I don't want to sit there and have to redo all this information over again. So today we're going to work over Mr. John Smith, tax onboarding. He's, of course, just a single person. He's been working at the same company for a while, but obviously the last time he did taxes, there were a lot of things wrong. So he came over to ShareFile Tax Services to help, again, make things right coming up with the next year's return. So let's jump into some of the real mainstays of an actual project. So let's first start out with document requests. Document requests, think of those as your request list, right? You're familiar with ShareFile. You know you've created request lists before to obtain data and put it into a folder, right? With document requests, that can all be done and interpreted here with information given, right? There could be times where I'm just requesting information, but the client has no idea what they're actually giving or why they're giving it. So we need to have some way of describing what those documents look like or what they need them for. All right. So back in, and we're back into our project, and we're under our document requests. Now, as you can see here, I've already initiated a set of document requests for my client, for John Smith, to actually come in here and provide certain information that I actually require. As you can see, and I'm going to show this a little later, but this is a list of items that I need to collect from him with descriptions of that information. For instance, we've already had John Smith upload his 2022 state tax return. And as you can see here, I was able to add a description of this with some of the due dates. And also I could see when this was last updated in terms of the progress of the item being out there. Furthermore, I can actually jump in here and think of the comment section as a means to communicate with me as the accountant. So this actually eliminates a bit of email back and forth, right? If you're used to that, seeing, hey, I need this information, I need to go back and forth, or say I sent a request list and I'm looking for those particular items, and maybe it doesn't make sense because maybe there's some duplicate information. At least what I can do with John Smith is communicate within the comments here. As you can see, he thinks this is the proper one, but he wants me to actually check that. So me as the employee that I set up this project, I can actually come over here and take a look at this return. And I could double check if everything looks good. Now, again, this could be, say, 2023. Maybe we got that wrong. So then I can easily come back here and comment, this looks to be from 2023. We need 2022. So there's a great way, as you could see, that I can communicate with this client without sending an additional email. I could simply ask them, hey, this is wrong. Let's go back and actually do it and get it right this time. And what also I can do from here is I can send this back and tell them it's actually wrong as well. 22. And I could send this back to him. So he's actually going to be notified that this was actually incorrect and he needs to upload the right document. If this was right, I can simply approve here and we can actually see that the status changed and it was approved by me as the accountant and everything's good. As you can see, John Smith has a bit of work to do in terms of uploading things. But as you could see here, it was just a simple way to get a list of items directly over to John Smith and upload those. And he's going to be notified of some of these points, especially the due date. We do send reminders out when it comes closer to time, when those are due. So he is alerted. Maybe he was on vacation when we sent this out. So it'll be nice and waiting for him when he gets back. right, so let's jump over to information request. This is another new option within projects that we released. It's a way for us to be able to create a way to ask certain information in a way of a form. If you're used to other forms being like this, where we're requesting information, we have things like Podia, as we host Podia as well. Our web forms are similar like this, where we can create these different forms within projects. And as you can see, we have a list of different fields we can create. But for this is maybe just some kind of questionnaire information that I need from John Smith. So this is a really cool way to get that customized information in a form. So it's easily organized and kept within the project if I need to reference this. From here, I can actually build this out. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but I can come into settings and set these certain settings and make sure everything looks good. And we could change some of the form properties here. And we could finally actually see how it looks as a preview for what the client's going to see. So I'm just going to exit out of here and come back. And then the final thing I want to showcase is our new tab option. Pedro hinted to this a little earlier, where, say, for instance, maybe some of this default information that we have listed doesn't coincide with what you're looking for in terms of keeping information within the project. Now you'll see a little plus icon over to the right here that'll allow you to open a new tab. And this allows you to create a table view. Think of this more as like a spreadsheet, if you will. We're all used to spreadsheets, how daunting it is to keep those updated and kind of keeping them in a centralized place where you know they're at. Think of it as that. We have a ton of different ways of providing a spreadsheet here. As you can see right now, we only have the default view as a table view, but later on, we will actually have additional default views that you could set, like Kanban and other things, to give a little better visual way of presenting this data in a way that suits you. Right now, though, as a simple means of collecting data, we can create it in a spreadsheet type of way. And as you saw, it's kind of a mix of information requests, document requests, and tasks within project. I have the ability to fully customize this out, though, and be able to build this table to start collecting this information. Just to actually note, all these three options I'm talking about have a form of way of creating it as a template. So again, if this information that I'm showing here needs to be, say, done 1,000 times over, right, within a given year, because we're onboarding 1,000 new actual clients, this doesn't need to be made again and again. And we can also expand on that. We're going to definitely show that a little later and how we can actually expand. So that's just a great way of just helping customize that. As you can see, I can come in here and change and input details. I can open up these different information requests. So if I need to change anything, I could change it on the fly. I could set stages, but all of this can be done right from here. And as you can see, the type of columns that you actually have will start to grow in nature as we progress through adding this customization later on.
And then I just wanted to add a quick note here, because this is great. This table right here that we're showing is just an example, right? Just like information request forms, what's really powerful about the table component and the information request components is how customizable it is. You can tweak it to fit right into your current process with clients. I'm sure many of you already have a set of questions or information that you gather from clients from different types of engagements, and you can easily adjust these tables and these forms to or even create new forms and use it to collect things like maybe client requirements, different client assessments directly from clients, service requests, and one of the ones that I saw, even collecting client feedback directly from your clients.
Yeah, I think that's really important to really highlight here, right? These are purely examples. I'm taking onboarding as a pure example because in reality, a lot of us do that within, of course, our organization, right? Onboarding is incredibly important because that's what we're doing the most gathering of information. But to Pedro's point, this all can be suited amongst what you need from the client or from the employee in terms of collaboration. So I wanted to show that out because I feel this is really going to turn into something awesome as we continue to build upon this, because, you know, I'm sure I can name plenty of people who have issues with, of course, keeping spreadsheets up to date and customizing them and really kind of integrating that into a platform like this. That's incredibly difficult. So keeping everything within projects is really what we're, of course, seeing here, and the customization that could be built upon it. All right, so with all this said, this is great, right? As an employee, I'm here setting this up, but what is that experience like for the client, right? I'm going to do something real quick. As you saw, I've already shared a couple things out to John Smith for him to do, but I created this one form like I showed you, and I need to assign it to Mr. John Smith. Let's first do that, so then I can actually switch over to the client experience. As you can see here, I have Mr. John Smith listed. And from here, I have my permissions. I'm going to talk a little bit about permissions as well as we go through this. These permissions have gotten very granular. We started out with projects where we had predetermined user roles, but now as we've kind of gone across the board, we've obviously got a lot of feedback from you as the client of understanding that not everybody fits into those roles. So throughout you testing out projects, assigning different roles and functionality, we now have the ability to customize this. Now, for this information request, this is kind of pretty straightforward, right? These give the ability to view the request to the response, and can create responses. Obviously, with John Smith, we want him to do all of these things because he's going to be capturing that information for us. But if there was somebody that maybe is just overseeing this project, we could just give them the view right when we're adding them to this assignment or for the information request, just so they have an idea of what information that we are gathering from it. I can always put an optional message here if we wanted to, so we can actually see that. We can also see the additional actual recipients that are added, what they can do in the project. So that's very handy as well. So as an oversight, what they already have access to. And then we could simply assign. There we got a nice success, and we see John Smith's icon pop up here. So let's switch back over to our client experience. With our client experience, and I should probably start out on the actual mailbox side. As you can see, we just got a couple things in. Let me actually fresh, there we go. There's the information request. But remember, I rejected that one W-2 or the W-4 that John Smith submitted, and it was the wrong year. As you can see here, everything's based on a notification. Anything we're doing in the project that's assigned or is being sent to John Smith, he's getting an email notification about it. That's really where this shines. It's taking the guessing game out of the client experience and having them understand, well, what do I need to do within the project? Is there something I can do while I wait, or if I hear back from getting this approved? They can manage all this themselves, but they're going to be notified when there's something new that they need to do. For instance, the information request that we got, this is the information request form that we set up, and we need John Smith to fill that information out. As you can see, it takes them directly to the request. There's no fumbling around folders. There's no fumbling around the different categories that we have. It's taking them directly here to fill these things out. So I can just easily fill this out. Now, this might not be the most pertinent information that I'm filling out as a demonstration, but there we go. I've completed my form, and now that's saved back into the actual project itself. Furthermore, if I'm already in here, as you see, you'll see a little red dot come up, things of changes that might have occurred since I haven't been here, like a comment. And as you can see, I saw that, oh, okay, my accountant told me that I submitted the wrong tax form, or my state tax return. It was from 2023 instead of 2022. So as the client, I can jump right in there. It'll take me right to the section here. I can look at the return that I actually put in. I could download it. or I could remove it from there so I know it's wrong, and then drag and drop the right year for my tax return. And again, my accountant will get notified of what occurs there. So going back, I also have, of course, free will to see things like the actual tab here where we created some of that spreadsheet information. This is great because I gave John Smith access to this so that he can actually view what's actually happening here. This will generate less questions from the client, right? We need to understand what is coming up next, what's in progress, maybe I'm skipping something. So as a client, I know what's actually going on here. I think that's a really good use for having a customizable tab like this, where I can give the client an overview of perhaps things that we're progressing through and things that we completed outside of the things that we already know, like document requests and of course the form we just filled out. This is a nice building block to be sure that the client is aware of what we're doing as an accountant for getting his tax returns completed there. All right, so the great thing here, again, as a client, you'll see it's pretty narrow view of what I'm giving them access to. So just to, again, just at a high level, I do have that access to all the document requests that I need here. I do have the ability to look at tasks. I know we didn't cover that. We covered that mostly in 101, but as you see, I have some tasks myself to be able to do. I'm able to see any of the files that have been uploaded, like the one I did already. And then again, I have the ability to comment within here and of course, talk to my accountant if I need to. Think of that as a chat, right? It's great. Without needing to jump on a phone or going back and forth in emails, I can centralize all this conversation within here and it's all recorded. All right, so let's talk a little bit about now going back over to the client, or I'm sorry, the employee experience. Let me bring that up. As the employee now, I had some great success with John Smith. All the information I'm gathering is going well, it's progressing, but now I need to save this because I said this is going so well that this project can be used for everybody that I onboard. And I'm going to start customizing this a bit, but I need to make templates for this now because I feel it's at a good state. First thing, I want to comment on document requests. Now, you might be playing around with projects right now, and you may not see an option to save this as a template, which I'll show you in the other forms. But the great thing is document requests and how we template things, that is something coming up soon that we will have. So you can template document requests. But we do have a means when we're actually setting up the document request that, and as I will show you here, I'll set a fictitious due date. I can import an Excel sheet for the items that I'm requesting. So if I had an Excel of, say, things like my tax prep, and I have different columns and different rows for what I actually need, I can import that Excel. And as you can see, the columns that I created within the Excel are the requested items, and then I have a column for description. So when I preview, as you can see, this will take a small example from the Excel and import. That will give me the same list that, of course, I showed you before. So think of this as a means to template, but we are going to be releasing a more official way to template a document request as a whole. So that is something coming if you were, of course, wondering, and that was on top of mind. But let's see things that we can template. Just like we had John Smith complete this form that we had him do. And by the way, he completed it. So we'll be able to look at the responses here and see all that information that he responded with, which is amazing. And we could always come back here and look at that and review what we need in that sort of fashion to be sure that is all we need to send him. We always can create an additional information request if we need to. Once we do assign that that information request, do note that that will be assigned to John Smith. We wouldn't be able to then edit that information requests. So before I actually did this, we should have created a template, and we could do that by clicking the save as a template. Now, the great thing here is we could customize the name of the template a little bit. And by the way, you'll see some information here, what it will actually copy and what it won't. These are great tips. So when you are looking to actually create that template, just be aware of what is included and what's not. And then we can actually say this as more of a template, I would probably want to generically make this something a little easier to read. We could always customize that later on, but for this purpose, we're just going to do questions for personal taxes. And then we could keep that description as it was like I first built it. So we can create that template. All right. So another thing we could template within here is our tab that we created, our spreadsheet. Hey, for instance, this is a great start. I love that we were able to collect this in a spreadsheet type of way, but we want to save this as, again, another template. So again, you have those three little dots and we have the more option, and we could choose save as templates. Again, just be aware of what is copied and what's not. And then we can give this a more particular view of, say, a set of years. We can always customize this. But again, since we're going to create a template, we don't want that name to be very particular to, say, John Smith's actual onboarding. We want to make this a little bit more generic. And then we have a description here as well if we wanted to add that. But from there, we can create a template. So just to kind of back up a little bit, as you can see, I'm individually creating templates for certain document requests, information requests, my new tab with the spreadsheet. I'm creating these separately. But what if I said, hey, all this information is great. I don't need to really template anything individual. I need to template the whole project as it is and as it stands now. You'll see the more options up here. And again, you'll see the save as template. So same thing here. You'll have the name of the project itself. So just be wary of that. You would want to change that. We again can change or customize that later on once we do run back into it. So that's very important, is you just, again, want to make that maybe a little generic so that you know what project is for what. Now, I'm not going to save this because I already saved this as a template. So we'll actually go through that in a section, in another section here. So again, as you saw, we have a lot of different ways of saving templates. As we progress through project, as we add more additional features, that is really going to be part of the course, is being able to save that time. You built out a great questionnaire. We built out a great spreadsheet. We built out an awesome document request. All those things can be individually saved as a template, but also at the grand scheme of it all, we could save the whole project as a template. This is going to save you a million clicks. And really the kind of process that you're kind of thinking here is, I don't want to have to do this over and over because I have onboard so many clients. I need to save time. So this brings us now, since we've saved those templates, how do we manage those templates? What do we do to actually be able to, say, share or see what's out there? Perhaps I need to share something with Pedro. We're going to get that to that a little later. But as you can see, all of the different templates that we just saved, all categorized within here. This may seem a little daunting, right? Because I have a lot of things I'm kind of juggling here. We can help categorize those things. So if I'm just looking for projects, the project as a whole, if I'm looking for that, I can just categorize just projects. So I could see my tax onboarding. That was the one I created. I can also see, hey, I liked table information, or the actual information request that I created. And as you can see, we have that here. And then also the new table or the new tab that I created, as you can see, all that information is saved here. We do also have shared with me. I'll show how to do that a little later, but this is a great way to help keep things a little more aligned. So you could separate these from the templates you build versus the templates that, say, another coworker can share with you. And then finally, you do have a search box. So if you needed to look up something particular, like we saw milestones, we see now we brought this up. It's a table view that we created based on project milestones. All right, so lastly, I want to show, before we jump into a little bit more of kind of how we produce these templates and how we install them, I want to jump into our catalog section. First, as you can see up here, you'll see a catalog section. If we click on that, this will bring up a new tab, and this will bring us right into our different catalogs that we have already established and created. Now, this will start out with our integration section. Our integration doesn't have to do primarily really with projects, but this is a way of integrating certain other third parties like QuickBooks or Salesforce to be able to do these things. And you see they'll have little descriptions and be able to install them within ShareFile. And we will be categorizing these more into your industry, so it aligns a little easier if you're trying to look for something. But more importantly, we have templates. So think of it this way: as maybe you don't know of a good way to kind of start out in collecting this information. You want to kind of copy somebody's homework, if you will, right? But also be able to customize that. A great way to do that is to start out with a template that we've already created. Just like integrations, we are continuously going to be adding more templates here within their different verticals, as you could see, like accounting that we have. And as you see, there was one important one that I love to showcase is the client onboarding one. So you'll see a little description of these, but if you wanted to look a little bit further into it, most of them will have an image of what it is, and then also what is included and a little bit of an overview. And we do have different versions. So if it was updated, you'll see the published date here and who it was published by. So of course, to save a little time, I went ahead and installed the client onboarding one that I created. And let's actually take a look at that. So you'll see in the share with me, once I did install it, you'll actually see the client onboarding agreement that I had here, right? Now, just like my other templates, I can create that project right from here. But if, say, for instance, I got that one that was installed, I could simply click on the use template. Now, as you can see here, it's going to ask for a name, right? You want to customize this. So again, we could say John Doe now is getting onboarded. And we can name that project a little bit more customizable.
And as this is created, I just wanted to jump in real quick. So a little background on this template that we, all these templates in the catalog today were developed by us, then defined by us. They actually are packed with a lot of components like a predefined checklist, client requests, and data tables. And we built this by talking to a few customers and coming up with a. We just wanted a starting point for a client onboarding. But if this project template is not perfect, a perfect fit, no worries. A common question that we get from customers is about adjusting these templates to better reflect how we currently conduct business. So John, it would be great if you could show how you can tweak these templates that you just installed and create a custom version.
Yeah, I think that's super important because just like I said here and Pedro said, think of these as a stepping stone. It might not align exactly what you're looking for, but it could give you some ideas and what information you need to add. So take for an example, hey, this was a great questionnaire, right? A lot of good questions within here. This is awesome. Gives me some insight more into the client, but I like the questions that I asked too about some of that history. So just like I showed you when I did a template of the information request, I can actually create it from here as well. So as you see from the create information request, we could choose a template. And that is the one that I actually saved previously, is the questions for personal taxes. And it's just going to give me that description that I added to it. And then that's going to create it within the project. And there we go. Now we have the questionnaire that I created previously, and I had it in there. So again, to Pedro's point, that the real essence of all of this is not just to have something, hey, this is all you get. It's hard-coded. Basically start your own template if you want to do it. Now, we want to make this super customizable and see this as a platform that you can build upon. So there's going to be a lot of great ideas coming out of the catalog, and hopefully, again, we'll be able to bring out tons of these later on. So this is just really kind of building upon the customization of projects, and again, being able to implement templates that we created from another project. So this is just purely, I create a project and I'm saving this as a template as a whole. No, I could take those pieces that I like and add it into another project that I'm working on. So same thing here with the different tabs where we're adding in more information. I can create that template from the actual project milestone or the taxes that I've created. I didn't add a description there, so it's a little plain Jane. But from there, I can create that table. And once that loads, I'll have all the information that I created in terms of the columns. And as you can see, it didn't import any of the information that I had previously imported to say John Smith's tax return. So there is really no fear of you saying, well, this is going to bring in information from somebody else. No, this is really, again, creating that spreadsheet for you so you could start collecting that information just like John Smith's had. Now, again, the great thing about this leading on is if I customize this to the way I like it with the addition of the information request and the new tab, I could come into here now and save this as a template. As you can see, I had John Doe's tax return. I'm sorry, tax onboarding. Again, we could just make this a little just of a generic heading, and then we could create that later on or customize that later on once we actually do create the project itself. So I'm creating this from the actual catalog that I grabbed it from. I installed it, added my touch to it, and now I have a brand new project that is a little bit more meaningful. I've added more information that I might have missed. So now, as you can see, we have the two different projects, but again, that more customizable one, I can grab that template right from the one that I created from that catalog and create it from here. Then once that's actually created, I'll go back in and continue to add those touches and then continue to share that project out. So we built one project from scratch. That was in our Project 101. I already had one built. I created a template from that. I've also created one from the catalog. And then now I've created one that had my touches from the catalog. So we have a variance of different customizations we have. But as you can see, once this is actually created, the great thing is I can customize this if I wanted to. And I could say, this is actually Jane Doe's tax onboarding, save that, and now it's customizable to what they need. One thing I do want to share out, and no pun intended, we do have a share option here. So when we do create that template, it's not, of course, automatically going to find Jane Doe or John Doe, right? We do have to add that person to be able to get them kicked off for those assignments. So that's another thing you got to realize in templates is this isn't automatically just going to assign it to them and assign, say, the information request. You do have to go in there and add that user, and then, of course, add those requests to the actual client themselves. So if I had John Doe already in here, I know this is Jane's Doe, but I'll take John Doe as a test, and I have him set. And just to talk a little bit also more about permissions, again, I do want to highlight this because I don't think we got to dig into it too much, but we've, again, added that customization where it's no longer just a client or a client with limited roles. I can come in here and fully customize what I want them to actually see. So it could be that I'm creating tasks here that I just want them to be able to view, but I don't want them to really modify it. I just want them to purely see those tasks and understand what they need to do. Or I can actually go into the file section here, and I don't want them to download the files that maybe I put in there or he puts in there back in there to lessen that confusion. So I can toggle that. Of course, with download, I need them to be able to view it, of course. And things like within data tables, be able to view all the data within the data tables is really essential. So as you see here, we're making it a lot more customizable to what these clients can use. Instead of just picking a particular role, we can get them to the point where I don't want them to have all the visibility that they really need for the project, because some of that stuff isn't pertinent for them. It's maybe more pertinent for me as the accountant to be able to adjust this information and not have the client worry too much about it, right? So I think this is a great addition. We've gotten a lot of feedback from it where we needed to customize these roles a little bit more. But from here, I could simply share out that project. And just as usual, now I'm able to go in there and see it. Pedro, anything else around more of that customization? You know, what if maybe I need other employees? I said, hey, I created this great project. Maybe one of those kind of things that we can do to help share those things out.
Yeah, I noticed that once you customize that project and you created your own, it showed under My Templates. But
Yeah.
what if this is a, a great template and I want to use it to sort of standardize the way that my entire team does onboarding? Is there a way to share that with the team?
Yeah, so that and everyone's proud of their work, right? Everyone has worked hard on a project and collected all that information, customized it to their liking. They say, "Listen, boss, I love this project. I think it's going to help the other accountants get the client onboarded a lot faster. I feel this is really going to help everybody within the company to have this workflow and this process done a lot better and cleaner in that fashion." So let's go ahead and showcase how to do that. Now, every one of these type of templates, if it's just a project or say a new tab with information requests, things of that nature, we could share all the different ones here. So if it was something pieced together, maybe my other associate built another project that he likes, and maybe he works on a different set of taxes. Maybe he deals with the company side of taxes, like a business. Obviously, taxes are vastly different when it comes to an organization or a business. So they ask those clients a lot different questions, but they said, hey, listen, there's some really good questions that we can grab from that questionnaire that I want to add to my project. So individually, I can come in here and I can manage access. Or if anything, I can always just check multiple ones and click manage access. I can always see the actual view. So in case you wanted to be sure that the information that I'm going to be giving him or the template is correct, but I'm going to click on manage access. And then I'm going to share this out to Pedro. So Pedro has a couple templates that he likes for projects, but he needs some additional, say, information requests added to his. He saw what I did and he loved it. And from here, I chose him to receive it. And then again, with the customizable controls, I have predetermined set rules or roles, I should say, I could give him. Or I could come in to customize this and be able to, of course, change up things. More importantly, like I want him to be able to delete. He can use it. So obviously that delete automatically triggers to use the template here. But also maybe I want him also to manage it, or maybe I don't. So this gives you that granular permission for Pedro to be able to adjust this, but he wouldn't be able to manage access to the template after he's received it. So I think that's really important, especially again, when we're talking about cross functionality, where maybe you are sharing something with them and you don't necessarily want them to do much to it other than just using that template. But that was just the information request. We could always do that as to a project as well. So there's many different ways that we can actually, again, manage access to this and share that over the Pedro. If there's any kind of access that we've already given them and say, oops, I didn't mean to give Pedro delete access. Now he would have accepted it, but he should be listed here, and then I can customize his access back over to him. Or more importantly, if he's listed, I can delete him from here. So all up to you, all very customizable in terms of sharing. And that's why, just to kind of fall back a little bit, is why we have the shared with me section and adjacent to my templates. This is just a better way for us when we're interacting with associates that we have this so that I know what was shared to me versus ones that I've actually already created. So there's that. All right, I think that kind of describes a little bit about templates. Hopefully you gained a little bit of insight with this demo here. Templates is just one facet of something we really needed within projects. I feel we accomplished that very well with this. As you could see, it's very customizable to ones that we're downloading from catalogs, to ones that are existing, to ones that are shared to me. All of this can be templated out working with your associates, so you don't have to have the guessing game where everyone's maybe doing something a little different than you, but that's customizable to the point of what they are trying to achieve. But if you want this standardized, that's a nice way to just to give that whole project to somebody and they can create it on their own. All right, with that, I saw we probably had a lot of good Q&A.
Yes.
I'm sure Cole's been
yeah, we have been on it over here.
Awesome.
There are tons of good questions, but a common theme that we've seen in some earlier questions is notifications. And there's a lot of questions about them, but I think to sum it up shortly, it might just be a general what is and isn't sent with notifications and how can a user manage them.
Got it. Pedro, did you want to talk just a little bit high level on how those work? And I could certainly showcase a bit of that as well.
Yeah, and so do we mean email notifications that the customer receives, that the client receives? Is that what?
Believe so.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're more aiming for, is more around like notifications, reminders, sort of that nature.
Correct.
Yeah, so with email notifications, yeah, when mostly the email notifications go out when things are assigned to client, and we have received a feedback about all the document request items going out as email notifications, and that's one of the items that we've taken in and looking at we can better streamline all those notifications. But essentially, yeah, the main notifications that go out to client right now is anytime you assign an item to a client, that ShareFile takes care of that by sending out an email and notifying the client.
Yep. Yeah, I think just to also talk about that is your different due dates that you have within here, things of like nature of like tasks. These are things that you can look and review. If you did need to extend out, say, a due date, you can always come into like, say, a task that has a due date and choose a different date if you wanted to. That's pretty uniformal around most of these different actions that you have, especially like, say, for instance, in our document requests, we have those due dates as well that we can actually come and edit. Yeah, I mean, I think purely a lot of it falls back on email notifications. I think that's the easiest by far in terms of how we're reaching out to the client or the employee to notify them that there's something due. And again, some might seem like this is an annoyance, but this is more so to help kind of keep, again, clients and employees on track with these projects. That's why we have them. So I'm sure, again, a lot of this will be more in progress in terms of being able to control those notifications. But right now, things of this nature in terms of due dates, they'll start to get notifications when it comes closer to time.
Sure. And then the in-app reminders piece.
Yeah, I think more of that, flowing through when we're going into the actual client piece, when we're coming into some of this. We did showcase, let this refresh. We did showcase a couple of the things like the red icon next to the name to notify them that there's something new, like we had a new comment. Those things will start to show up there. But yeah, anything else, Pedro, maybe that could be coming up on the UI side that could facilitate better reminders?
Did you show the new notification as well?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so next to help up there, this is something that we produce as well, where you get notifications about when things are due, especially within projects.
Yeah,
and
I think.
Yeah, this is a new feature, but it's something that we're looking at, evolving as well. So more notifications will be showing up here in product.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in conjunction with the email notifications, the due dates that are assigned to the different requests, the notification section, and then as you saw, the visual aid with the icon showcasing that there's something new. I think that really gives the platform a great way of just being sure that it's attentive to the actual clients that are working with it. So it gives them, again, a great avenue of what they're actually going to see and need to accomplish within the project.
Fantastic. Thanks for answering that, guys. And someone had a pretty specific question around templates in terms of the library, or yes, the library. Will there be things added to that as templates coming from the ShareFile side of things? And someone specifically asked, is there a charge for requesting a template?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm sure Pedro could talk on this, but definitely doesn't seem like we're going to be going that route. And these are facilitating right now from us as a means just to help with this, but as I understand it, we will have other contributions outside of just ShareFile.
Yeah, I would add if you know if you have an idea of a project template that we could add here that could in the catalog, reach out because we do have plans of growing this catalog to cover different cases and different industries.
Yes, and feel free to respond to the follow-up email from this webinar if you have any ideas, and we'll make sure that gets to our product team. We're happy to hear all and any ideas. Awesome. So someone asked, let's see. Oh, yes, here's a decent one. It kind of goes back to the notification piece. It says, when do we, the accountants, receive notifications when a document is uploaded or information is provided by the client? Just wanted to touch on that once more.
Yeah. So yeah, anything that the actual client is doing. I don't have my email open here for the demo purpose, but I most likely have a notification based on, say, for instance, when he uploaded that document, John Smith uploaded the document, or say, for instance, I sent it back because it was wrong. The client's going to get that notification, just like we saw here within his email. He got an item sent back, and what he needed to do is upload the proper one. So he's going to be directed over to the document request. He's going to upload the new one. And then me as the accountant will get notified that there was some progress or an upload to this actual request that we have here. So just like the client will get due dates if it's assigned to us, but more particularly as the employee, as somebody that I'm managing the project, will probably be in there, or we could take the accountant as an example. We would be mainly managing and looking at this more often. And again, based on the notifications and everything within that view, and of course the indicator icon, a lot of that will showcase any kind of change or any kind of update to the product, or I'm sorry, to the project.
Gotcha. Perfect. And we do have a couple questions around just the idea of reporting, just asking if it's there today, if there's any sort of reporting within this.
I got it. I'll definitely hand that one over to Pedro.
Yeah, so in terms of reporting, getting reports on all the different projects in the system, that's still not right now available. But one of the focus for projects is integrating projects into everything else in ShareFile, and that includes reporting. So I know we get a lot of, and I saw that there was a question already about integrating client folders as well. And that's one of the main focuses for us, integrating projects, essentially into all the different features of ShareFile, so that you can, essentially leverage all the different functionality that you have from ShareFile into this project space. But yeah, definitely reports is one of those items.
Fantastic. And I know we're right at close to the top of the hour, but I do have one quick question. And how do the right signature templates, how do those relate?
Got it. Yeah, that is something separate from projects right now. Hopefully we'll have a better integration for e-signature, but that will be something separate within the signature section here. But Pedro, if I'm not mistaken, there should be possibly some integration being done within the template section.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So one of the templates that are included here, and this is currently in beta, but we have right signature or document templates, as we're calling it now. They're already integrated into the space, but those are in beta right now.
Yeah, that's a good frequently asked question, at least on my side, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Pedro. This has been fantastic. We are right at the top of the hour. I do want to remind everyone that did attend today's webinar, it was recorded, and we will send that to you in a follow-up email here in a couple days. So we'll make sure you have that. And we see there are a pretty decent handful of questions that haven't been answered just yet on the QA panel side of things. Our team will stay on just for a little bit to try to answer as many as we can. But if we can't get to it, just know that we'll send you a personal email to make sure that you do get an answer to that question. With that being said, thank you all for joining us today and spending a little bit of your Thursday with us. We are glad to have you here, and we hope to see you in a future webinar. Thanks all. Cheers.